Okay, I would like to call to order fiscal year 2020-2021 budget hearing, ORS 294 period 430 to order. Date is May 25th, 2021. Time is 6 p.m. There have been no public comments heard, and go into conversation here. Paula, do you want to introduce this?
Sure. Oops, sorry, got my dog barking here. Yeah, so we're gonna be having the actual hearing for the budget. This time we have already gone through the process with the committee. There has been some changes and small changes that did not exceed the need for a second hearing. But I'm gonna go ahead and pass this on to Mark so Mark can go over that information. Mark, please.
Thank you, Paula. Actually, if you look in the budget packet, there is a page per the suggestion of Gil that includes all the changes that were made to the budget, as well as what's included in the different budget items. For instance, and they're all cross-referenced within the budget document themselves. The major changes are we've recently added Pier 5, a portion of that cost, into the budget for 2022 when it became apparent the supplier of the electrical box could not supply it until after the beginning of the new fiscal year. So I had to carry what the contractor felt it would cost, plus the grant funding into the next fiscal year. But that's all identified in this document, and looking to see if you had any questions.
So does anyone have any questions on the page 24, I believe, the notes and projects specifically?
Yeah, this is Gil. So Mark, I really appreciate you doing that. It really helped anticipate my questions, some of my normal questions, because I could follow more easily what you did and what changes were made. So really, thank you for that. I think it was valuable. Hopefully we'll do this at each budget, each time we do the budgets. I did note a couple questions about the notes. So, and maybe I missed it, but you had on page 12, let's see, what item was it? I think you had a number 36 note. So you had quite a few notes, as you can tell by the amount of numbers. Again, I appreciate that. Let's see, where is page 12 here? And it was number 36. I couldn't find 36, by the way. That's all I'm saying. And maybe it was there. I just missed it. I couldn't find where the note was. So that was one comment. Go ahead.
Which
well, let's see. This was on page 12, item 36. Where is that at? Sorry, I didn't designate the line. Replacement planning grants. I just couldn't find item 30, note 36. Not a big deal, but just wanted you to note it.
Port Dock 7 replacement planning grants is what that is.
Okay.
So it goes under the it's beginning stages of planning for Port Dock 7, and we believe we're going to get there's a potential for 2 separate grants, which would cover the full cost of that planning for that.
I see. So that's why the decrease from 900 to 625. Oh no, sorry. That's another comment. Sorry. Okay, got it. I appreciate that. And then on page 17, this time I did have the right item number. I think it was item 20, line 25. Let's see if I can find that. Line 25. Yeah, there it is. Let's see, page 17. Huh, okay. Well, that's not right. Sorry, I had page 17 here. Maybe it was on a different, I downloaded this in order that I could read the notes at the same time on one file and see the changes you made. But that's not the right item.
There are
Oh.
two sets of page numbers, so it may be the other page 17.
Excuse me?
There's actually two page numbers. The budget packet itself has page numbers, and then the entire packet has page numbers. So maybe it's just the other page 17.
Yeah, so where's the other page 17?
Well, there is no other page 17. On the right-hand side, it says GOF, Commercial Marina, like page 1.
Right.
So
Sorry, let's not worry about it. None of these are major items. They were just, and I didn't realize the pages weren't going to line up. Let me see if this last comment I have lines up or not. Line 9. Yeah, so there is one here. So look at this one is correct. So page 21, line 9, you have taxes estimated to be received, and you have an asterisk here. And when I was going through this, I was curious about the asterisk. Just didn't know if there was a note here or something about what you meant by that.
it's something that the Secretary of State has in their forms, and just it's only an estimate. It's our best guess.
So that's
So
all
there-
it means. It's best guess. Yes, best guess. Okay.
How
All right,
much-
those are my comments. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gil. Any other comments or questions from the commission? None heard. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the budget and the appropriations and levying and categorization of the tax as written?
Yeah, I move that we adopt resolution 2021-04, adopting the 2021-2022 fiscal year budget, making appropriations and imposing and categorizing the tax.
Thank you, Walter. I see a second from Gil.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. That was well done. Okay, at this time at 6:08, I'd like to adjourn the fiscal year 2020-2021 budget hearing. Are you okay for me to go right into the next meeting, Karen? Okay. 6:08 p.m., May 25th, 2021. I'd like to call to order Port of Newport regular monthly commission meeting. Are there any changes to the agenda other than those provided? Go ahead, Paula.
Yes, even though it's actually not part of the agenda, but it's actually an addendum that was sent later on. After talking to the economic development of Lincoln County, who manages the enterprise zone, he decided to table it for this month and wait until June. And the reason is that typically they like to get the special districts on board of this before the sponsors approve it, even though we are both. We actually special district as well, but we are actually a sponsor of the enterprise zone. So with that, the meeting that they were expecting to have with the special districts hasn't happened yet. So we're going to go ahead and table this over to June. And I'm going to invite Paul to come and talk about that enterprise zone as well. So,
Okay,
thank you.
that's great. No public comment heard for this portion of the meeting as well. Any items that we want to remove from the consent calendar? Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar as written?
So moved.
Thank you, Jeff. Any second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, old business. First item up, accounts paid. Does anyone have any questions or like to make a motion for accounts paid?
I'll move that we approve accounts paid.
Okay, thank you, Walter.
I'll second that. This is Gil.
Thank you, Gil. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we have another spot for a motion here. Aaron Brent's additional circuits and work, South Beach Load Center.
Yeah, I got a poor internet connection right now. So if I drop off, I'll contact you guys back in. But there's several items that we need to get done on this South Beach Load Center project that we didn't realize were part of the project to begin with. It was as we went, we learned more about it. They're listed in the report. It is a bad service for the Newport Bell that desperately needs to be replaced.
Oh,
Over the course of the last 20 or so years. You guys still hear me?
yeah, you froze for a second, but you're good now. Can you hear me?
Okay, so we got additional circuits that were added over the last 25 or 30 years down at South Beach for various items. And then the addition of a retaining wall that's being required by the electrical inspector. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Most of the information is there in the report. So, in my recommendation as well, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thanks, Aaron. I don't have any questions. Does any of the commission have a question for Aaron? Would anyone like to make a motion? Jeff?
I move the commission approve the GM to authorize Western States to perform work additional to the original scope of the South Beach Load Center replacement project as stated in the report on page 77.
Thanks, Jeff. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, right on to new business. Salary benefit adjustment for GM Paul Miranda. We had a work session last week. Gil was not there. We did put together a rough motion that we were going to put forward. And I believe that was a 12% increase that Kelly recommended, and there wasn't a lot of pushback. But this is a good opportunity for you to catch up, Gil, and for any questions, comments, and refinement of that motion to happen.
Yeah, so thanks, Jim. And I want to apologize to the group to missing the meeting. I had our three doodle polls flew past each other during that time. I ended up getting scheduled for another meeting at that time. In fact, I had 3 meetings. I went from 9 to 3 on doodle polls, on Zoom meetings. So I apologize for that and apologize for not letting you know about that. I did listen, though, to your discussion. I thought you guys did a great job discussing this issue, although, well, first of all, I think you brought up a lot of good points about the job that Paula has done, which I think we've agreed has been excellent, and the need to pay her a competitive wage rate. And you made a lot of very good arguments were made by the group. There's going to be a however here. However, I also felt your frustration in the sense that we did not have the data we needed to really have a really informed discussion. This isn't our fault. The problem is the data on what a competitive market rate is, which is part of the discussion here, doesn't seem to be available in an easy to access format somewhere. You would think that the port associations would really have fairly up-to-date information, whether it's the Oregon or the West Coast or national, on competitive salaries for port managers, port directors, CEO of ports, but it doesn't appear that they do, or it's not easily accessible. Jeff, I noted, had pulled out some, and I found the same table, Jeff, that you did from the state of Washington that showed Deepwater Port managers, their rate of salaries, which were varied from, I think, 160,000, about 350,000. Of course, 350 being the Port of Seattle, I think roughly. And that was the best data I could find, besides trying to contact individual ports. I think Paula was trying to contact individual ports that she thought were competitive here in Oregon. And so that was one frustration, was the data, in listening to all of you, and I know you shared that same frustration. The second, though, was we were mixing up a lot of different elements of compensation. So we were mixing up trying to get her to what is a competitive salary. Two, we were wondering about merit for very good performance. That's another aspect. Three was cost of living. You know, what was everyone getting at the port via cost of living or bringing their salaries up? And then there was this whole issue of benefit compensation relative to salaries. And I think, Paula, you shared an email with us afterwards that talked about that a little bit. So I would just say that in the future, when we have these discussions, that we find a framework for us to discuss compensation that makes sense. And I would also argue that we as a group should adopt a position that we must pay a competitive salary for the port director, whoever it is, whether it's Paula or someone else, so that it competes with similar sized ports with reasonably similar conditions here on the West Coast. And that would help us a lot. And then we could go get the data to help support that, as well as separating out the other compensations, merit, cost of living, benefits. So we can view it as a package and we can see each item separately. I just think it would go a long way to helping us structure our discussion on this. So I did a lot of thinking after watching the YouTube, because you guys raised so many good points, and finally getting the data we need. So I support the 12% increase. I think that both gets us closer to a competitive wage, as well as potentially covering some of the merit, cost of living as well. Again, it's kind of all jumbled up, but that's okay for now because we don't have the data, nor do we have a framework to separate these items out. And then when it gets to the more complexities of benefits, we might try to get a sense about that as well. But I support the 12%. And I think, again, I commend the commission for doing an excellent job in discussing this, even though it's always a bit of a messy and complex issue. So thanks. Those are my comments.
Go ahead, Paula.
A couple of comments. One, first of all, I did talk to the OPPA, the Oregon Public Ports, and I guess they're supposed to do the survey last year because of COVID. They kind of postponed it, but I reminded Mark Landauer again that we need to do that. He said he'll have that on the next agenda for PPA. So I think that is something that they'll be doing. Typically, they do it with the support or funding, better saying, of Business Oregon. So I'm imagining they will be doing that this year. Secondly, after talking to the Port of Astoria, I have a suggestion, which is the way that they do the salary negotiation. Apparently, so, you know, it's hard to do that in an open session. So instead, they actually do it through SDAO. So the commissioners don't have to deal with it. They negotiate. So in this case, the director over there negotiate with the special district, which they offer this type of service for ports. And just like they did in the initial contract when I was hired. And then they present that in an open session to the commissioners. And if you don't agree or disagree, then you can go from there. But it is a way to, you know, have them do the research and so on and so forth. I actually thought it would help the commission. So.
Yeah, that might be a really nice way to do it. I guess you're speaking of next year at this point. Yeah. I did contact Mark Landauer, and his most recent data for Oregon ports was 2015. So it was quite outdated and not really all that relevant. Any other thoughts anyone wants to share? Jeff?
Yeah, I wrote something up because I just thought this is an important issue that we want to get right. We've worked well as a commission between the commission and Paula, and just want to continue the good working relationship. And I thought this was an important issue. So I just wrote something just to kind of put down what I see as important points. And so here goes. As port commissioners, we act as stewards of the public resource that is the port on behalf of the people of the Port District for their good and for the good of those outside the Port District impacted by the port in terms of recreation, direct business, and secondary economic benefits. Selecting and working together with the Port General Manager is our number one job as a commission. These past 2 years, Paula has done a great job executing the many different aspects required of the GM role. The port and its staff have functioned well through an extremely busy slate of projects and a pandemic, and the results have exceeded expectations. The port is both a public entity and a multi-million-dollar business. GMs with experience and an applicable skill set are not numerous nor easily identifiable. The impact of a GM efficiently and effectively leading the port has been shown to be extremely valuable and vital to the port's success. Therefore, it is incumbent upon the commission to reflect in Paula's compensation the commitment to seek to retain her as GM into the future and build on recent success. To that end, it is appropriate to look at other Northwest ports, take into consideration the size of our port to that of other ports, and seek to be competitive with compensation. And so that is, I thought it was important to lay out the rationale why it is important and right to take the action that we're doing, the rationale for what we want to do. And forgive me if I don't recall exactly the previous meeting where we settled on a number, either a dollar or a percent. At one point, we talked about 15,000 increase, which is a 10.6% increase. But I believe we're in the ballpark of getting, we don't know, like Gil stated earlier, we don't have enough information to say exactly where we should be. But I think we're certainly getting more in the ballpark and gives us a good footing and a commitment to go forward. And as Paula and Gil have brought up, maybe some things to think about for next year. And so those are my comments, and I think we're in that range, and I'm flexible on the number. I thought about the 15,000 increase, but if we wanted to go by a percent, that would be 16,920 increase. So that's what we're looking at.
Gil, please.
Yeah, so I was going to suggest that if the port organizations, the Oregon Port Association, wasn't able to get us this data, I would be willing to volunteer, maybe with another member of the commission, to go get that information. I think it'd be valuable for us to even look at the other ports and what they're doing and how they're compensating. That would be valuable, I think, for us as commissioners. And I don't mind doing that if we can't get it in another way. So it just means some phone calls. And I assume it's public information, right? Most of the ports are public entities. We should be able to get the data we need. We also could get even benefit information as well as a few other data points. So I'd be willing to do that if we can't get it in the other way. I have to admit, I have a knee-jerk reaction about having the service districts do this. I do think that by us doing it, I think we have a greater connection with Paula and the work she's doing and what's needed and how other ports operate and compensate. I worry about a third entity getting in the middle of that discussion. Not that they wouldn't do a good job, but then who are we negotiating with at this point, right? Because you got another entity in here representing, of course, trying to be neutral. I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but again, my knee-jerk reaction is to say there's no reason I don't think we can do that as long as we have the appropriate framework to do it, which I tried to lay out, as well as the proper data, the data that we need to do this properly.
Thank you, Gil. Good advice. Anyone else? Walter?
Yeah, I just want to, thanks, Jeff, for that statement that you made. And I agree with the need to be competitive and for consistency. Like I said before, Paula is my 5th GM in 8 years. So I think I understand the need and the desire to have consistency, but we also are stewards of, like Jeff said, of the public interest. And I'm just concerned about the way it looks. I mean, we're going 22% in 2 years. So keeping up with inflation, I understand, and merit increases, but I also am concerned about the public perception of a 20% increase of salaries in 2 years. And I think warrants a merit increase. But once again, I think 12% and 20%, over 20% over 2 years is a little much. And in the past meetings, I said 7% and work on getting her up in a 3-year time period, and not all at once. But those are my comments, and those are my feelings on the issue.
Thank you, Walter. Kelly, do you have anything else to add?
Can you hear me? I am
Yes.
on.
Yeah.
I still think from what we discussed the other day at the meeting, at the just when we had our meeting about her salary, I still think that it's important to get her up to that place that she feels worthy of, that she feels that we value her at. I understand the stewardship, and I understand the part of, trying to warrant what we give, but I also think it's important to show her the value that she's worth. So, I mean, we need to be careful going up too slow, and I understand going up too fast, but I think that competitiveness is important too. We want to keep her here. And like Walter's saying, how many different GMs has he gone through? We don't want to have to do that by starting and kind of ticking up like, see, we're rewarding you, we want the value there, and we want her to know that value's there and that we see it. And we don't know what's competitive. I mean, we've seen from some of the things that have been sent, even from Astoria, he sent his contract. So we've read through that. We've kind of seen some of the competitiveness there of where at least Astoria is. And so we're not completely blind to what's going on. And so I just think it's important I'm still in there for giving her the 15,000 or 12%. So I just think that it's important to look at it next year. And if we need to slow down a little, fine. Or if we need to continue to tick up, we need to. So I think we're kind of in that place, that tipping point right now, to kind of get her to at least to here, and then see what next year brings. So that's my opinion.
Okay. Thank you, Kelly. I think we're doing quite a bit more than just taking a stab in the dark, so to speak. We have looked at numbers. We have looked at a very well done and high performance appraisal. Where Jeff threw the number out at 15,000, which was 10.6, and you had mentioned 12, and I would support either one of those. I think stability is critical. I joined the port and it was in a pretty rough spot, and I think so it was that way when Jeff joined, and Walter's been on the roller coaster for a long time, and I think it's very important for us to keep the direction and the forward momentum going. And I would entertain a motion on either one of those figures. And I really enjoy and appreciate what you said, Gil. regarding putting more structure to this process next time around. Go ahead, Gil. I know you have something to say.
Well, so one question, and Chuck raises it, we raise it as well with other issues, which is public perception. And my feeling about public perception is we make the case as commissioners about what is good for the port. And if we use rationality and logic and provide evidence, I think we win the day on this. I think the community understands the importance of the sport, and compensating a good manager according to what the market deems necessary for compensation. Otherwise, as Kelly suggests, you can go through different port managers because they're not well compensated and they're going to leave to greener pastures and to other ports. So that's what we don't want to do. You don't want to lose someone because you aren't paying them a competitive salary. I think we can make the case to the community. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's hard to make this, as Chuck's suggesting, there might be some kickback to have these large raises in 1 year. I don't know. I haven't been on the board long enough to understand how the community would react. But I think we can make the case and say it should be somewhere between 10 and 12 this year, and then next year do a more thorough analysis and determine what we believe market is, and then have a framework, a better established framework to provide salary increases over the long term. Anyway, I think even this meeting will help make that case.
Jeff?
I agree with Gil. I believe if we lost Paula because of something we did, I think public perception would be that we blew it, and we can't afford to lose Paula. So that's where I'm at. I think we can make the case. I think the only place I disagree with Gil is I think it is easy to make the case, and I think the public sees the difference, the closer they are, between a well-functioning port and one that's not. And it's worth the salary increase 100 times over. Yeah. And then some, in what you gain compared to what you could lose. So with that, I move that the commission approve a salary of $157,000 within the existing contract structure.
Jeff, for clarification, what percentage is that?
That would be about 11, that would be somewhere around 11.4, 11.3.
Okay. Do we have someone that will second that?
So that's about a $16,000 increase? Correct.
Yes.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed.
All opposed? Walter opposed?
Yep.
Okay, passes. Thank you for all the hard work, Paula.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go into staff reports. General Manager.
Okay. All right. Well, first of all, I would like to congratulate Jeff Lackey, Kelly Redford, and Gil Sylvia for retaining their commissioner's position. I look forward to continue working with the entire board as is. Okay, we are, again, it's been a busy month for all of us. So we started the meetings with the Corps of Engineers for the dredging feasibility study today. And this is a 3-day, very detailed meeting to go over everything that is going to happen. And it sounds like this is going to be a 2-year process until a decision is made, should we dredge the commercial channel or not. So we're going to be working on that. and mostly Aaron is going to be working on that. Thank you, Aaron. And we have completed the electrical engineering plan for Dock 5 and 3. And we're actually looking to start purchasing some of the pedestals. We actually put that in and then we pull it out because we needed more details on it. So you should see the request for actually the June meeting in order for us to have everything we need to start in the fall. There's been some issues with electrical parts all throughout due to COVID. So we want to make sure we're ready when that starts in the fall, when we go for the actual contract to do the work. The Port Dock 5, again, we're shooting here for mid-June to get that mostly completed, as both Aaron stated on his report, as well as Mark mentioned on the budget. There's some parts, electrical parts, the cabinets that are missing at this point, again, due to back supply. So we're expecting to get that done in August, but we have worked out with the contractor to assemble everything that we have, put the gangway in place, and it will look like everything is pretty much completed, but they're going to have to come back in August to finalize the electrical side. With that, I guess we did discuss the possibility of doing sort of a ribbon cutoff of that project. So I would put it out there to you commissioners to let me know when you think that would be a good time to do the ribbon cutting. We're looking into finishing this sometime in mid-June, so maybe July or the end of June, even before, because for the public perception, most everything should be looking like it's completed. Again, we just have a small part that will be done later on. And concept is to maybe invite some of the legislators to, especially on the federal level, to help with the grant. And see if they can attend. Any thoughts on that?
What do you think about kicking off the 4th of July weekend and understanding people do a lot that weekend? So maybe Friday's not the best, but maybe Thursday before the 4th of July weekend?
I actually won't be here that day.
Okay, well, we want you here.
Yeah, I'm having a family gathering in Colorado, so I'm leaving on Thursday, and well, actually, I have to look. I may be leaving on Friday, actually.
Well, we can do it Wednesday.
So I'll confirm, but I'll throw the date out there. I have to look at my schedule.
I'm open. It just, I know we're gonna have fireworks again this year, and it seems like a good, we're gaining this momentum after 2020, and fireworks are happening, and it seems like a timely thing, or the week before.
Right. Actually, it looks like I'm leaving to Colorado on Friday, so I am here on Thursday. So if it works for everybody, we can try to schedule that date.
That works.
Works.
Oh, okay, wonderful. I will send some invitations and make sure people are available that we want to invite. We again, with the South Beach Marina load centers, that's also completed. But as you heard from Aaron, there are a few things that, as you this is like a kitchen remodel. You open up one thing, all of a sudden you're remodeling a house. So it's unfortunately you start finding more things that needs to be completed, and that sort of was the case with the electrical side of things over at South Beach. There are a few things we didn't realize it needed to be done, and as the electrician look at it, it definitely needed to be replaced. So hopefully we can can get that done. Again, got to order parts as well, so there may be a little while until we finish that side, but at least we got the load centers in time for the halibut season, which apparently had a slow start because of weather. So hopefully we'll get a little bit busier. However, our marina is pretty busy. The Rogue Seawall, we also got that one started. We have been meeting and with the contractor, consultant, better say, the engineer on this. And again, I want to send our appreciation here to the city of Newport. They help us with some excavator to go over there and create some holes to reach out to some of the parts we need to look at it. So really thank them for it. We are continue working with the 343 Southwest Bay Boulevard property. There's been some conversations with the neighboring property. We're just trying to find solutions that would work for the port in the long run before we decided that maybe we should get rid of the property. And at this point, we really need to move quickly because permits take a long time and we have short windows to get work done. And we also have a requirement from the city to get that done. So conversations got started. We're still going back and forth with that neighboring property to see if we can get a DSL lease in front of their property should we decide to repair that because we learned along the way that parts of the dock, the floating dock that was sitting next to the property, was not in the did not have a DSL lease. So yeah, so we need to get that done in order to move forward. I was hoping to also bring a memorandum of understanding with Clearwater for Port Dock 1 on the opposite side, so we can fix that little problem we had. But we're just trying to finalize that agreement in such a way that the Clearwater feels comfortable with what we're doing. So I'm hoping to bring that to you in June. As we talked last meeting, the city suggested that we would have a June combined meeting, and I did talk to Spencer, and he thought June 28th at 5 p.m. would be a good date, and we could do that over at the city, which they have more space. And this is a live meeting versus a virtual meeting. So I just want to make sure that that works for all commissioners. June 28th, 5 p.m.
Good for me.
Yep, works for me.
So what that means is we would have the meeting 1 week later than what we normally would, because usually we do the fourth Tuesday of the month, which I think this month would have been earlier on the 22nd. So instead we have on, I think it's a Monday, June 28th, on the week after.
Is that going to, how do we develop that agenda?
In talking to Spencer, basically we come with our agenda, and they come with their agenda. We probably need to combine for time, so we'll discuss that. So we'll come up with our items, and they'll come up with their items, and we'll just put them together.
Work it out. Okay.
And we still both would have to put announcements because, again, you know, we're two different entities, and I guess we have to make sure that folks know that this meeting is happening on both ends.
Sounds
Okay.
good. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll move forward and and let Spencer know that that will work. Okay, so as far as the financials, again, we're doing real good. We stay on track, and you've seen the budget. I gotta say again, Mark does an excellent job. He's always finding ways to save us money and to streamline things every day. Appreciate you, Mark. And one unfortunate thing is we did not get the Travel Oregon grant that we filled out for the Chick-fil-A tables. I was very, very optimistic because of the way they said that our application really fit in what they were looking for. But looking at the list, it seems like there were very few people that actually asked for the max of 100,000. And I think they really want to just spread their wealth through different counties. And since there were some other smaller requests from Lincoln County, I think that kind of pretty much, did it. Lots of applications with a lot of money requested. So, however, I have been talking now with ODFW, who has helped us with previous fillet tables. And they do have some grants that is due in July, and which would be awarded in January. So I'm working with them right now and trying to figure out how we put this together. And they also mentioned that we should be talking to some other folks that could also bring in some money. And I'm reaching out to a lot of people on this one. So hopefully that won't change our budget as to how much money we get back. I'll continue working on that. Again, we continue being very busy in South Beach, both the RV park sold out for the summer, and the marina has been really busy. We are talking with the Maritime Administration. Sorry, I usually try to spell out the acronyms so you understand what they mean, or at least the public does. MARAD is the Maritime Administration, is part of the Department of Transportation that usually deal with navigation in general. As we have been looking at our 9 acres and trying to develop that ourselves instead of leasing it to somebody to develop and use that for future opportunities for the port. They have some opportunity for grants. We're also talking to a couple prospects. We don't know yet. We haven't had enough to really open up and talk to you about them because it's still in the beginning stages, and until the customers decide that they want to proceed and provide us a plan is difficult. However, should we proceed and have some sort of cargo, first, obviously, we're going to make sure everyone is on board. We're going to talk to our existing users, but we want to make sure that we also have some equipment, because there are several ways to do this. Customers will provide their own equipment. We can provide the equipment, or we can have a third party managing any offload or loading of the terminal. Apparently, if we combine the development of the property with equipment, we can actually reach the minimum ask that they have. So we're looking into that. So we'll continue that conversation. Hopefully, maybe something will come out of it. Again, Mark has been working on the financial system. We should be making some selection here pretty soon. At the end of the month is when it closes. And we also may have a $10,000 potential to reduce the cost of that, although it's a small amount, but anything helps. And we also continue to work with the architect and for the engineering work also at the admin building. We have been talking to Business Oregon. I believe last time I mentioned that we had about a year to once we lock the rate, and then talking to Business Oregon. They did a little more research, and apparently it's actually 3 years. So, so what we're doing right now is we're waiting for award letter from them, which we should be expecting it pretty soon. Initially, they thought we would have that by the end of the month. But the good news is that the rates have not gone up. Actually, it stayed at 2.12. I think we were expecting 2.22, so that's good news. At least actually we budget on 2.22. So now if it's 2.12, that will be even better. And once they send us the award letter, then they start working on the loan documents, which may take another month. And then once they send us the document, then we have 30 days to sign the documents. Hopefully we'll be through some of the process that we are now. If we're not, I'm sure we can work it out something with them and delaying a little bit until we have more certainty in how we want to proceed. However, even if the prices don't come or we're not ready, again, we can still enter into the contract, and we have, again, 3 years and with that rate locked to complete the project. So that's all good news. Besides that, one thing I did not, a couple things I did not mention here in my report is we have tabled the rogue sign last time. And I actually reached out to the city, and it seems like there's way more to do for rogue to do on that, because the size of the actual sign seems to be way beyond what the city would allow. And so what I did is I reached out to Rogue, and I had them work that out with the city first, try to figure out, how they feel about it, if it's something that would even pass muster, at this point, because it doesn't seem like they would go for something that big. And then as to the color, obviously, they thought the red is less likely to pass, but they don't know. The city planner is gonna have some conversations, but bottom line is I think Rogue needs to give them more details, and then we can bring this back here once we have better feelings about what the city wants to do. And besides that, I usually try to put in the permits that we're providing, because the CDC guidelines have relaxed a bit. We are starting to allow folks to have usage of our property. As you know, we have the 4th of July fireworks with the city. We also have given a permit to the Oregon Sea Grant for the shop at the dock. They wanted to start that again with a group no larger than 10. And that is going to be between July 16 and August 20th. Cast for Kids wants to come back again, and that's going to be August 14. And also the Newport High School, it's doing sort of a ceremony for their, it's all night thing they call it, on June 12th for the high school students. Actually, they're mostly doing it Rogue. Rogue is providing the site, but just the outside area for parking, it's all they're using of ours. So with that, the only other thing, a couple things I would point it out from the calendar. One is there is a PNWA conference coming up. So if you wish to participate, again, it's going to be virtual, just because they didn't feel comfortable yet having that as a live meeting. So let me know. It's going to be June 22nd through June 24th. And either Karen or I can sign you up. And also there will be a meeting with Senator Merkley coming up. Sign up. We need to sign up by July 1st. I just want to make sure we don't have more than 2 commissioners attending that. Otherwise, it becomes another meeting we have to notify. So just let us know if you are interested in participating, either Karen or I, and we'll sign you up. And with that, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Any questions for Paula on her report, or I guess on Aaron's report or Mark's report? Any questions on any of those reports? Walter?
Yeah, I did. So I was just there's a question for Aaron. And I just, since we've replaced all those load centers down there at South Beach, does he see any issues with the older pedestals, having issues with them, with getting cleaner power to them and a better connection, as I might say?
Yeah, it's going to be once we get the GFI breakers installed in the pedestals, that's the best we can do at that point. We need new pedestals, but the way that they're wired into the docks, we need to replace the docks in order to replace the pedestals. So we're down to getting new docks, new pilings, and everything, which I would imagine we're gonna have to do like a couple of docks at a time or so, something like that. And but once we get the GFI breakers installed, I think we're gonna be fine. Our system is working the way it's supposed to at this point. So I think we've done what we could at this point.
All right. Thanks, Aaron.
Sure.
Thank you. Any more questions on any of the staff reports from the commission? Okay, any commissioner reports? None heard at this time.
No,
Walter?
Yeah, go ahead, Walter.
no, go ahead, Gil.
Well, we may be talking about the same thing, so I didn't know if you wanted to comment about meet at the roundtable discussion with Schrader, as well as the Groundfish Commission meeting on wave energy. Since you're pretty involved with that, are you going to comment on that or not?
No, I'll let you do that. I was going to say we had our OPEC meeting a couple weeks ago, and so my seat on OPEC is up. It doesn't belong to the Port of Newport. It's a statewide seat representing ports, marine navigation, transportation. Brianna Goodwin, Surfrider, did reach out for Paula and asked her to apply. I wanted to wait until I heard from the governor's office about what their exact timeline was. I'll be reaching out to Paula, see if she wants to apply for that, but is open to ports, marine transportation, and navigation. So that's a pretty broad spectrum. The fellow that had it before me was a port commissioner from up in Port of Astoria, but it doesn't mean that someone from Newport can't get it again. If I'll reach out to Paula and talk to her about that. But if any of you other commissioners are interested in applying, please contact me. It's it can be quite a commitment, and you do have to go through Senate confirmation. And if you're interested, shoot me an email. Thanks.
Thanks, Walter. Gil?
Yeah, so I attended 2 meetings. One was Schrader's Roundtable. I think many of you are aware of it. Paula was at the meeting at Schrader's Roundtable, Fisherman's Roundtable, and Chuck was there. I don't know if any of the other commissioners participated. And there was also a meeting by the Trawl Commission on offshore wave energy. They invited some people in from the East Coast to talk about it. It was about a 3-hour kind of mini workshop. The reason mentioning it was that Schrader made a comment that I thought was interesting, and I was linking the 2 meetings together because he argued that given the way, and again, Chuck, you probably know more about this, but given the way BOEM operates, which is, of course, the federal agency in charge of developing offshore energy with gas and oil as well as wind energy, that you need to get ahead of them because they do not take into account the way they operate, the kind of externalities or cost to other user groups that other agencies might take into account. Let's say NOAA, for example. He asked a question about whether there was a map or a set of maps that could be used ahead of time that showed where the value of fisheries was. You could think of it as a heat map in the ocean of where there were, by space, where there are productive fisheries, either by poundage or by revenue or some other metric. And of course, we all understand how complex that is, because that can vary year by year, it can vary by fleet. There's a whole amount of variance on trying to do something like that. So it's not necessarily a simple thing when you have dynamic fisheries. When we heard a speaker, I think her name was Ann Hawkins from the East Coast at the Trawl Commission meeting. She's been extremely engaged representing the fishing industries against offshore wind energy. I asked her because she talked about that what needed to be done is to protect high valued fishing grounds. So I drew a connection here between what Schrader was suggesting and what she was suggesting, that it did not seem to be well understood what the high value fishing grounds are and where they are located. I asked her to define high valued fishing grounds. She said, well, this was problematic because she said, well, they're all high fishing ground. They're all high value. I don't want to say that a fishing ground that may be very important, but just to a small boat fleet fishing out there as compared to an industrial fleet. And it's hard to compare value across all the different types of fleets, given that value could be subjective. It can tie into equity issues. So she was not willing to define high value. So I just thought about this discussion with BOEM and how you present where the grounds are, the fishing grounds that produce value or high value, in order to get ahead of that discussion. And I was just thinking, because I know the port's going to be asked to be engaged in these discussions over time. And of course, Walter is, I think, a representative to the discussions with BOEM. And I just thought this whole issue was interesting, giving Schrader as a politician who's trying to help and what he thinks needs to be done in order to have him help with knowing where these valuable fishing grounds are. So I just wanted to present that, which I thought was an interesting comment, interesting juxtaposition between the two meetings in terms of how you deal with this issue. So I don't know, Chuck, if you have any comments or anyone else.
Kelly, you had did you want to say something?
I was just going to say, I think a good contact would be Heather Mann for that. We could contact the fishing user group and maybe engage in kind of conversation, what would help, because I think that this is going to become, at some point, it's going to become an issue. And we want to navigate through it the best way we can, because we want our port to be continue to be stable, and that means the fishing needs to continue to be stable, the fisheries, and identifying the high value fishing areas off of our coast. The grounds are very valuable in each direction, and they go from inshore to offshore. So I think that it might be a discussion we might have to have with the user group, the fishermen's user group, so that we can kind of be on the same page when this all comes down to a real conversation with BOEM. So.
Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, Gil, for that update.
Well, yeah, and I was going to say, Kelly, I don't know if you remember, about 10 years ago, the fleet went through an exercise with Ecos Trust, and back then Laura Anderson was in charge of there was a nonprofit formed Fish Cred, and basically, I forget what the acronym means, but basically they held all of the heat maps for the fleets, did a heat map exercise, and the reason that they did the nonprofit was the fishing community deems that information as proprietary, and that's the hard part about getting the heat map from the fleets is the proprietary information that is part of that. And it'll be a little interesting to if they do decide to redo it, because with the RCA being taken out, that the 4 when they did that, the RCA was still in place, but I'm pretty sure that they were given an extra set of pennies to do pre-RCA also. So I'll reach out to Jory and let her and remind her that this has been done, and that was part of the Part 5 process when they were trying to cite renewable energy inside the state water. So, but no, that's a good idea to bring that up to them.
Thanks, Walter. That's a good idea too.
Okay, thank you. Anything else for the good of the meeting? You guys have any questions on the calendar? Unheard. No public comment once again. Okay, time is 7:05, May 25th, 2021. I'd like to call the regular monthly meeting to adjournment.